The TD Winnipeg International Jazz Festival is in full swing, filling venues across the city with world-class music until June 22nd. Old Market Square in the Exchange District has been and will continue to be the beating heart of the festival's energy and excitement all week long. This Friday, June 20th at 6 p.m., the Square's iconic Cube stage will come alive with the irresistible rhythms of the Samba Jazz Project. Expect a vibrant fusion of bossa nova and jazz improvisation brought to you by some of Winnipeg's finest jazz talents. Their set draws inspiration from legendary pioneers like Johnny Alf, the Zimbo Trio, and Cesar Camargo Mariano, celebrating the bossa nova wave that swept from Copacabana's shores in Rio de Janeiro to record players across North America during the 1960s. This is going to be a truly excellent show, and joining me here in the Classic 107 studio, I'm joined by guitarist Emmanuel Bach, pianist Diego Costa, and saxophonist Paul Balcaine, 3 members of the Samba Jazz Project. Hey, it's so great to have you all 3 here. So first of all, Emmanuel, can you tell us what we just heard?
Yes. So I put this band together because I really like what's the Samba Jazz? The Samba Jazz is when the bossa nova musicians they really enjoy listening to jazz. So they start taking like the bossa nova tunes and playing them like in a jazz manner. Mm-hmm. So the place that was most famous for this is like a place called the Ale's Bottle, the Beco das Garrafas in Rio, because they call it that because people would play there and the neighbors would throw bottles at them because of the noise. So all the jazz musicians and the bossa nova musicians hanging there and had jam sessions, and from that we got like a huge list of amazing artists that came from that tradition. Mm-hmm.
What was the first tune that you just played that we just heard?
Yeah, we played a tune by Durval Ferreira and Maurício in horn called Batida Diferente, which means different beats.
Oh, great. Emmanuel, a couple of days ago, you were here with Amber Epp to talk about your show at the Little Brown Jug, and I was saying how I wanted so much to talk to members of the Samba Jazz Project, and as it turns out, you're also a member of the group. How did the group come together?
Well, this started back when I was living in Brandon. Mm-hmm. I used to play a lot with Paul. We did a lot of duo gigs, and so I started having this idea that I want to put together a Brazilian music group. And then later on, and then also Ken, which is also in that group, but he's not here today. He was my teacher in Brandon University. Mm-hmm. So I was playing already with Ken and Paul. And then I met Diego when first few times that I came to Winnipeg just to play some gigs. One day I was supposed to stay on someone's house when I came from Brandon. But my phone got discharged. I didn't know how to get there. And I just met Diego, and he said, you can crash at my place. So that's how I met him. And then we started playing a lot. And right away, we had like a lot of music in common and things that we like playing. So we started playing a lot. And then when I actually did my recital, my 4th year recital at the university, those guys played with me in that. So that I think was like the embryon, germ.
And Diego, what was it like for you to find another Brazilian musician who is such a high caliber? You want to yank the mic over?
It was great. Actually, this project actually is really essential for because we came to Canada like to study jazz. Mm-hmm. So we've been playing. Our background is like Brazilian music, bossa nova, but we like playing. We have a lot of gigs like playing jazz duo. We love playing jazz, but we always talk about this like when we're playing like Brazilian things as a duo. We try to incorporate like jazz element, like try to put the things that we learn here, like as jazz musicians doing our and that's what Samba Jazz is like. It's about like bring these elements from the jazz things that we learned here, and put together with this amazing Brazilian rhythm, bossa nova, samba, and this project is unique. We have you've seen us here with the Brazilian Nova Collective, right? We essentially like play bossa nova, Bossa nova is like more melodic, the form is really big, different. Samba Jazz, like for the first song that we played, it's really short form, and then a minute melody, and then you just like blow, like improvise, That's
open it up. Yeah. The Samba Jazz Project, it's got a pretty killer horn section. Paul, can you talk about who's in the horn section?
Oh, sure. It's Ken Gold on alto saxophone, John Challoner on trumpet, and I'm playing tenors.
Yeah, perfect. And Emmanuel, who's in the rhythm section?
Well, I have me, Diego, and then we were joined by Gil Fournier and Fabio Bagnelli on drums.
Oh, it's a fantastic rhythm section. I want to talk a little bit more about, help me out with the name of the scene, Beco de Grafas jazz scene in Rio. My understanding is it was like a whole neighborhood in Rio de Janeiro where the clubs were. How did that music from that part of Rio make it to the United States in the 60s?
Well, that's really interesting question. You know, there's like, this was happening in Brazil. Since the 50s already, there was like a pretty vibrant scene in Rio, like with jazz, because there's great, like for example, Dick Farney, which is a great singer and piano player, but he's a jazz piano player. He actually lived in the States. He was the first guy to record Tenderly. He was the first artist to record Tenderly. But when he went back to Brazil, to the States, he became a crooner. So because he's a good-looking guy and he had like a nice deep voice, so like I said, this guy has to be in the front and sing. So Jobim was his piano player. And you know, like, and what happened, the movie Black Orpheus got really famous in the States. That's a French movie that's like, it's inspired on the story of the Orpheus, but like it happens in the Carnival in Rio. So it's like and it's a play written by Vinicius de Moraes. And that was recorded as a movie, as a French movie, and got a bunch of awards. And because of that, they put together a concert in the Carnegie Hall that was a Brazilian music concert. And like João Gilberto, all those guys came to play in that concert, and they stay a little bit in the States afterwards. And that's how they connect with Stan Getz, and like all this music came to the States through this one concert that was actually sponsored by the Brazilian government, because the president at the time, Juscelino Kubitschek, he wanted to develop Brazil, so he wanted to bring more the American culture to Brazil, and the bossa nova was like a perfect fit for that, you know. Yeah.
Can you talk about Diego and Emmanuel? Can you talk about Johnny Alf and the Zimbo Trio? What made them pioneers?
Yeah, just a little bit about the history. The musicians, they were really like tired of the old samba. We're like talking about like 1930s, like the really old traditional samba, you know, really limited like chords. The harmony was really simple, 1-5, 1-5.
Maybe a little 2 thrown
yes.
in. Yeah.
And then you know, the bossa nova came, like musicians want like to you know, like to add like more like harmony, you know, into that, you know, traditional samba. And then, you know, the musicians, they want to be like virtuoso, like play things, and that's how, you know, they mix like the traditional samba with like jazz, you know. That's the
and the harmonies are way more complex.
Yes,
well,
exactly.
So about that's interesting. You know, like the bossa nova actually started. There's a great book by Rui Castro. I don't know if there's English version for that book. I don't think that is, but it's called like Chega de Saudade. That's about the history of bossa nova. And you can tell that I'm very passionate about this. So there was a fan club, Sinatra Farney Club, which like people was like Dick Farney fans and Frank Sinatra, and they got together to listen to the records. And Dick Farney would come, and they had like a rivalry with Lucio Alves, which was another crooner, the kind of, you know. And Johnny Alf was actually the piano player that played in that club. And he knew all the jazz stuff. He was a great jazz piano player. So everyone admired him. He didn't get the same exposure as other people, and that was because at that time, like maybe he didn't have the looks, and he didn't represent, because he was like his mom was like a house cleaner, his dad like was not from a great upcoming, like a rich upcoming, so, and he was like black homosexual. So at this time, like he got left out of the bossa nova, you know, Carnegie Hall, for example. But he is actually, in my opinion, one of the creators of this music, you know. Yeah.
Exactly. And in Zimbo Trio, think about like Bill Evans Trio or
Yeah.
Oscar Peterson. It's like the same level in Brazil, but they're playing like Brazilian music.
Yeah.
And Milton Godoy, the pianist, he was classical trained. He would like was a virtuoso, and his left hand is amazing, you know. So I think they established, you know, the first like really Brazilian trio playing this like Brazilian rhythm with, you know, a lot of improvisation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Paul, I'm going to turn it over to you for a second. Playing this kind of music, I mean, it's nothing, I don't think it's anything new for you, right? I mean, just think of the fake book. You've got the girl from Ipanema and the one-note samba. How is playing in a group like this different than playing in a small jazz club?
Oh, sure. I'm going to be slightly uncouth for a minute. This is not Gringo Bossa Nova. Like the stuff that was popularized is what I knew until I met this guy.
Yeah.
And until I met this guy.
Yeah.
And then it was, wow, there's a whole world of, you know, and seeing how everything ties in together.
Right.
It is absolutely a language all upon its own.
Can you talk about the form of the tunes? I mean, I imagine you're not blowing through 32-bar choruses, right?
Occasionally, depending on it. Like a lot of them are like 24. Yeah, you know, 24 to 32.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so it's more or less the same. But I mean, like the chord changes. The one thing I like about it is that, for example, they really paid attention to people like Charlie Parker and Barry Harris.
Yeah, right.
You know, whereas you'd have like a regular 2-5-1. For those of you playing the home game, if you have a D minor chord moving to a G7 chord, moving to a C major chord, it's not uncommon to see a D minor chord moving to a D flat 7 chord to a C major chord in bossa nova music, where they did a lot of that kind of stuff, which was completely current with everything that came before it that they took their influences from. So.
Yeah, amazing. So the show is this Friday at 6 p.m. What can audiences expect in the way of tunes? I'm going to sort of pass around the group. Emmanuel?
Well, they can expect a high-energy concert with a lot of improvisation and nice to dance as well, to listen, but also to dance and to have fun, yeah.
Paul, are there any tunes that you, as a sax player, are really looking forward to playing?
Oh, all of them. They're extremely they're challenging. They're intricate. In fact, in rehearsal today, I'm going to get the name wrong.
Avio.
Yeah. I've listened to it. I've played along with the recording, and then I'm staring at the page today, and I'm going, "Oh yeah, right." You know.
Yeah.
So it's like, it was one of those things where you just kind of had to close your eyes and go with it. So, but yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah,
all of it.
Diego, you want to mention like some names of tunes?
Yeah. There is something, you know, that for everyone to enjoy. You know, just come out to see us. It's going to be a lot of fun. You know, if you don't understand Brazilian music really well, you might think that everything is the same thing, but it's a little bit different. You know, as long as they differentiate, like, you know, things here and there, that's fine. Yeah.
So Diego, what are you hoping audiences will take away on Friday?
What's that, sorry?
What do you think? What do you hope audiences will take away from the show on Friday?
Oh, you know, just people like think that and think about Brazilian music. It's the same. The first thing that comes to mind is bossa nova and samba, and actually we're playing samba, but not quite that. Like it's different, you know, samba. And then one thing about this project at Samba, when we talk about samba, people think about the carnival in Rio de Janeiro, you know, and that's what the drummer Fabio Ragnelli is going to try to bring, like the whole drumming section from the carnival to one piece of drum kit. Yeah.
And Paul, what are you looking forward to about the gig on Friday?
Having a really good time with friends, exposing people to a wonderful style of music, and hoping to see a lot of people dancing.
And Emmanuel, how about you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to play these arrangements with this band. It's a lot of fun and a lot of dear people that I really enjoy playing with, and just have a good time with the show.
Fantastic. Paul, Diego, and Emmanuel, this has been so much fun to have you here. All the best on Friday. I hope you get people dancing and digging the sounds of the band. All the best. And thanks so much for taking the time to stop by and play and talk to me today.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, thank you.
For our Classic 107 listeners, the Samba Jazz Project performs this Friday at 6 p.m. at the Cube at Old Market Square. For more details, visit jazzwinnipeg.com or go to classic107.com. I've embedded a direct link to the show page in the article about the concert you can find up there now. And before I let you go, I understand you've got one more tune that you're going to play for us. What are we going to hear?
He's going to hear Vestido Longo by Arismário de Espírito Santo.
Will you take it away?
Thank you.